All right, this is going to be the second round of videos for this unit. And this one, we're just going to go over the parts for a 3D printer. I know that was one of your CLAs, but there was a lot of misconceptions I thought I wanted to address with this. First off, we have something called the gantry. And what the gantry does is it's the pulley system which moves the carriage or it moves the build plate. So we can kind of see where it is. So it can move it left or right, up or down. Um, and again, it could either move the build plate or it can move the carriage. Now the carriage is what holds the extruder. So it's this little platform right here. And that platform, if we're looking at like an XY axis, it can move it left or right, and then the build plate can move up and down for the Z axis. We got our filament, the extruder. Normally, you don't have this long of a path going from the carriage down to the extruder. I think this is just made just to show you how it all works. And we have our build plate. Every now and then you have to level your build plate. And what this does is it ensures proper distance between the extruder and the build plate at most points. When I do this with the MakerBot, I just have to kind of go through the menu and it does it for me. It'll go through a whole process and it'll tell me which bolts to loosen and move and retighten. And it's kind of a cool process. Some cheaper 3D printers probably don't have that ability, but the more expensive 3D printers will. But you do want to make sure that your build plate is level with the extruder. If you don't have a level build plate, you're going to get some misprints. Some weird things are going to happen. Another thing that can happen with 3D printing is something called warping. Remember that when something is heated, it expands, and when it cools, it contracts. So if your print cools at different rates, the left side might cool faster than the right side. That's going to cause the left side to kind of bunch up a little bit more and pull it off of the build plate. So there are some fixes. Here's a picture of some warping, and it's very frustrating, especially if you have a huge, this kind of build right here probably took 50 hours just by itself. So there are a couple fixes. The first fix is to use a heated build plate. The second one, and not every 3D printer has this option, but if you have a chamber, like our printer has a chamber, you can just raise the temperature of the chamber. That's the first thing I do because I have a lot of problem with warping with our MakerBot. It's just it's such a large printer that there's different areas inside that chamber that can be at different temperatures. So I just heat it up. But if you don't have a chamber, you want to make sure you use a heated build plate. That also kind of goes with material. In the classroom, we've been using PLA plastics. You don't really have to worry about warping too much with PLA plastic, but acrylics and ABS plastic, though, those warp a lot, and you must use a heated build plate if you want to print with those materials. All right, I think that will cover this video. Nice, short, sweet, but to the point.